I want to bring in former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. So many Americans, as you just heard, are hungry right now. They need financial help. What do you think? What is the main reason Congress, the House and the Senate, has not acted to get such desperately needed relief to these folks?
It's heartbreaking, Wolf. And in a word, it's politics. If you had to single out a particular individual, it's Mitch McConnell, who right now is holding the line, saying he does not want to consider a relief bill that climbs past a certain point. And to me, we have to come together and get a deal done before year end. There are 12 million Americans whose unemployment benefits are going to expire at the end of December. And you can imagine what their situation is going to look like in every single one of those households if a relief bill is not passed in the next number of days and weeks.
The Senate is in recess now until after Thanksgiving. Do you still hold out hope that Congress will hammer out some sort of desperately needed stimulus relief bill before the President-elect Joe Biden takes office on January 20th?
I talked to a member of Congress who is pessimistic, Wolf. But at the same time, they need to come together and pass a bill by December 11th that enables the continuing operation of the government. And there is some hope that at that point they will be able to extend unemployment benefits, extend the eviction moratorium, extend the suspension of certain student loan payments past the end of December, because people recognize that there's a cliff coming at year end for many, many Americans, and they're going to have to hammer out a deal to continue to fund the government. So there is still hope.
If there's no stimulus package that's approved during this so-called lame duck session, should that be priority number one for the incoming Biden administration?
It should be. There are hundreds of thousands of small businesses that right now may be closing their doors forever. And Joe knows this. Many, many members of Congress are hearing it from their constituents. So this should happen well before the new administration takes power. But if we're at that point come January and February, this needs to be the order of business number one, because at that point, Americans would have been waiting for 9 months in many cases.
Andrew, you tweeted this week. Let me read to you. Put it up on the screen. If we ask you to stay home, we should also send you money so you can do so. Without those funds, do you think any push for people to stay home during the Thanksgiving holiday and the upcoming Christmas, Hanukkah holidays, is that all that doomed to fail if people don't have money?
I talk to small business owners, Wolf, who feel like they're being put in an impossible situation where in order to have any source of income, they need to open their doors. And in some cases, that means pushing against some of the public health safety guidelines that are out there. So my tweet said it all, and you can tell a lot of people agreed with me that if we're going to ask you to stay at home, then we need to put enough of a lifeline out there so that you're not concerned about paying the rent, paying for food and fuel. This is common sense. Many other countries have done this. It's heartbreaking that our country's legislators have not been able to deliver in the same way that other countries have.
But is that realistic from a political standpoint? Do you think that's doable?
It's looking less doable in the near term. I remain optimistic that cash relief is going to be front and center because 74% of Americans are for it at this point, including a majority of both parties. And every economist who's looking at this says that cash in people's hands is the way to go. It's the best bang for your buck. I spoke to Jason Furman, who is one of the chief economists under the Obama administration, and he and I agreed that some kind of cash stimulus in people's hands was something that most economists would advocate for at this point.
I know you're in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Usually you're in New York, but you're working to try to get out the Democratic vote for the upcoming Senate runoff races there. You're in Atlanta, I know that. Two Republican super PACs are set to spend, we're told, some $70 million on ads in Georgia. Are you worried, Andrew, that Democrats may be at a funding disadvantage going into these two Senate contests?
The Republicans have sent 1,000 operatives, $32 million. But you have to look at the fact that this state just went to Joe. They just audited the votes and it still went to Joe. And so I think there's going to be a lot at stake. There's a ton of enthusiasm on both sides. Certainly, it's a thrill to be here in Georgia. talking to voters. We have events planned with college students, high school students, all very safe, all very socially distanced. But there's a lot of enthusiasm on the ground here because everyone knows that the Senate is at stake, and that if the Democrats win both of these races, then we might see real relief coming out of Congress because Mitch would no longer be the majority leader. He'd be in the minority.
Andrew Yang on the scene in Georgia for us. Thank you so much for joining us. So we'll stay in close touch with you. You'll update us on what's going on over there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Would love that, Wolf. You can tell by the peach behind my head I'm in Georgia, right? You notice that touch? Try to have that visual sign
nice
that that's where we are.
Atlanta, one of my favorite cities. All right, be careful over there. We'll stay in close touch. Stay safe. Andrew Yang, appreciate it very much.
Put the money in our hands. 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 Can we afford it? Yes. Will it cause inflation? No. Is it awesome? Yes. Is anyone trying to make it happen? Yeah, that guy.